Now, teachers are being told to tell children as young as 7 that they're not, quote, racially innocent. It's part of diversity training being offered by Brighton and Hove City Council, and it sparked outrage, understandably, from some parents, with one starting a petition to have the training scrapped, and that's currently got around 4,000 signatures.
I mean, where do you start? The council says that all teachers require the training that will inform specific racial literacy-focused lessons, which I actually struggle to even say, let alone get my head around, but there we are. Currently, they aren't mandatory, but should children as young as 7 be taught lessons on race? Well, joining us now to unpick this is our Culture and Social Affairs editor, Freeview. Your views?
Yeah, so this is part of Brighton and Hove's 5-year anti-racism strategy, and this is partly in the furore of the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020, when many organisations and institutions effectively capitulated to a racial identity politics ideology. And part of that is teaching white privilege, and one of their racial literacy classes that were meant to be for staff has white privilege, institutional and kind of structural racism, and it actively says taking a critical race theory approach. And I think it is really interesting because a lot of people have been using the phrase critical race theory for the last few years. People say, oh, it's from America, we don't really know what it means, but actually they have actually used that in some of the training programmes that they've put forward. And what has been quite striking is that there has been a pushback from parents. So this petition has over 4,000 signatories, and it is very unfortunate. Parents trust teachers and institutions to educate their kids and trust them that they will be given impartial, balanced and nuanced information. But now parents are actively now having to take their children's teaching into their own hands because they cannot always trust now when it comes to race and gender and other identity politics narratives what their kids are going to be taught.
Now, my daughter's school isn't that racially diverse, and of course I don't necessarily mind teachers teaching about children being accepting, not that any child I know has ever not been accepting of her because of her skin colour. But why are they so intent on going all the way and, you know, calling 7-year-olds racist, which is effectively what they're doing? They're going beyond the call of duty, which is teach kids to be accepting of each other, and just drifting off into these sort of quite radical ideologies, really. Why are they doing that?
Well, I think that many of them are really well-meaning, and as I said, when there was a lot of emotion and kind of righteous emotion that came out of the Black Lives Matter movement, many organisations were scrambling to find out what they can do to show that they are anti-racist. And I think that people that take a more liberal approach or have a more kind of common humanity, Martin Luther King-esque approach really need to think about actually creating their own alternative resources. Because actually when these teachers kind of go onto the internet and type in some of these things, they find all of this stuff and they're already prepared, ready to teach it. And so I do think much more materials that actually take a much more nuanced and balanced approach need to be created to make sure that teachers are aware that there's other materials out there. But I think what is also interesting is that a former Education Minister, Sir John Hayes, it was reported in the Telegraph as well, has said that this is alarming, and he hopes to be raising this with the Education Secretary Nazim Zahawi. And I really do hope, as Kemi Badenoch, when she did her statements in 2020, said that teaching white privilege as an uncontested fact is illegal. And if councils are doing that, then they should absolutely be examined by the government.
Do you think we'll see an increase in homeschooling? I know actually we touched on it earlier on, but for different reasons. But do you think we'll see an increase in it? Because I've got to be honest with you, if my hypothetical children going forward, if I thought that they were going to have their heads filled with whether it's things with the trans lobby are going to be raised questions from being 7 years old about whether they've been born in the right body, they're going to be taught that they've got some kind of racial bias, I'd think twice about sending them to school.
I think many parents perhaps are really thinking that. I think we really have to get our head around how serious what is being taught. Teaching kids as young as 7 that there is something wrong or corrupted about something that they had no part in, their skin colour, is actually incredibly dangerous. And I do think that we are at a time in a society where so much progress has been made that actually the liberal approach has actually transformed race relations in this country. And now we seem to be rehabilitating old ideas that because of your skin colour, that can tell us something about your morality, your politics, your worldview. We are going backwards. I do think it is really important for parents to see that this is fundamentally wrong and really intervene.
Thank you, Inai Falarin. Iman there, our social and cultural affairs editor. I think I completely agree with that, because my worry would be, for example, if the teachers started teaching the white children at my daughter's school, that they should feel guilty or that they should see my daughter as this completely other different sort of human being. That would backfire, and I think they would start seeing her differently, not more equal in a way.
So true. It raises a difference, doesn't it?
It does.